Hey guys, time to talk about the newest superhero game. And as many of you already know, I have been a fan of Spider-Man for most of my life.
Sorry, but Batman is it gear. I love Adam West as the penguin. Nyek, nyek, nyek. Quack, 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 quack.
And one of the best games for Spidey in recent years was Marvel's Spider-Man. This game was so good that many people consider it the best Spider-Man game to date. And I can see why. It is an excellent game. It had great and fun gameplay mechanics, and if that wasn't enough, even the story was so good that it was almost like a near-perfect Spider-Man movie.
Sorry, Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi are the superior movies, and fuck them MCU and the Marvels. Spidey is better alone as a superhero than just a comic relief in a crossover team. And besides, the best team of superheroes is and will be ever X-Men. Yeah, it's 90s all again in Fox Kid. Nyek, nyek, nyek.
True, the X-Men were good, but later they milked Wolverine so much that destroyed the dynamic of the team. Anyways, let's go back to Spider-Man. And sometime after a really good DLC, we got the Miles Morales game, which was very good since now you got to play as Miles, and it added a lot of new abilities to the gameplay that were very fun. Though they kind of made the game a lot easier since they were very OP.
And it was very frustrating that it was marketed and priced like a full game, but in reality was just a big glorified DLC. What a greedies!
But either way, the official sequel still had a lot of hype because now you were going to be able to play as two different Spider-Men, and also since the first game was so damn good. But that also meant that it had a lot to live up to as well. So now that I have played it, I will let you know what I think of it. But before I start, I will thank my friend that works at Insomniac Games who got this game for me. Also, I will let you know that I won't go into detail about the story and chapters like I usually do. I will let that for the full review. But I will still talk about a few points related to that. So there's your spoiler warning, and while the story is not bad, it is not nearly as good as the original. So because of that alone, the game gets to lose a few points. Usually I don't care much about the story in a video game, but this is clearly a story-driven game where that kind of stuff is far more important to get right.
Yeah, the problem is, if the story is bad in a narrative-driven game, it becomes Metroid Other M. Nyek, nyek, nyek.
First off, they obviously decided to keep the excellent web swinging from the first game. Which, to quickly explain why it is so good, in most Spidey games the web swing is done by the webs attaching automatically no matter where you are, which is fine if you are in a closed space. But if you are outside in the city, the webs will attach to the air, because there's no ceiling to hang from. It is far easier to program and to deal with gameplay wise. But in the Spider-Man 2 movie-based game made it so Spidey can only attach its webs to building or any other stuff that's above you. Well, except air, which is far more realistic of course, and also more faithful to a character. But it also added a level of challenge to the traversal, because now you always have to make sure to be near buildings to move around. And areas that don't have things to hang from will heavily affect your ability to move around quickly.
Hey, why Miles Morales sounds more than a superhero the name of a taco stand, you know? Vengan con Miles Morales tacos with extra queso. con quesito, el quejito y empanaditas.
Hey! I told you no racist jokes in my channel! They are not even funny.
What? I am not racist. Besides, I am Chilean. El sapito Darwin. Y sé español. ¿Me entiende? Gringo, perro gringo. So, I am Latino, not Latinx. And you know, that's really racist and bugs me in the wrong way, even more than Ubisoft. Nyek.
Yeah, I hate that Latinx thing too. It is really annoying.
And back to the topic. But sorry, it's true. He's a Spider-Man too, but people just call him Miles Morales to tell them apart, and that just confused me. He should have his original superhero name, like Golden Tarantula or Araña Dorada or something that sounds way cooler than just another Spider-Man.
Now, let's continue with the web swinging gameplay. Like I said, that sounds like it could get annoying. To not be able to move at full speed every time you want. But actually, people loved it, because it added a level of strategy to the gameplay. Turns out that quickly thinking where to ham from as you are moving around, it's a fun challenge, which gamers love. It is complicated at first, but easy to learn, and when you master this web swing, it flows smoothly, and it is glorious to play as it is to watch. Other games after that also used that style of web swinging, but Marvel Spider-Man was probably the first game that truly made a web swing system that could rival with it, but also added its own stuff in an attempt to make it different and hopefully improve on it, like giving Spidey the ability to run up walls, to make the gameplay more dynamic.
Yeah, and Spidey for some reason can run in buildings, like the gravity does not affect him. And I don't remember that in the comics or movies. Well, maybe in the new ones, because they are a little weird. Like when Peter kills MJ with a spider comb, and you know, that's not a joke.
Please don't remind me of that. Comic books can get really weird sometimes. Anyways, let's continue. And in Marvel Spider-Man 2, they added even more stuff, like a dash in midair, a double jump, and even the ability to use web wings that allow you to glide. Honestly, I am not too sure about this one, since gliding is not nearly as fun as web swinging around. But I think they mostly made them because now you have to go through the ocean to get to the other half of the map. And always having to get to one of the bridges just to go to the other side will be annoying. So instead you can just glide through it.
More than a Spider-Man, he's Kite Man now. He looks like Rocky the Flying Squirrel. Bullwinkle, Bullwinkle, Bullwinkle.
But at least gliding doesn't entirely replace web swinging, since even though it is faster, it is also hard to control and to turn around. The game has a lot of other changes in the gameplay. Like now the costumes don't come with special abilities, and I think I know why. It is because most people choose the first one you got that greatly refilled your health over the other abilities. Because no shit! Of course people are going to choose that! It is really damn useful! Instead, now the recovery is always on, and these other abilities are reserved for their own section. So you don't have to choose between those.
Hey, I got another question. Why there is a costume for Miles that make him look like a Colgate toothpaste and with Adidas sneakers? You know, it looks terrible, man, terrible. I know Miles is black and proud of that. Good for him, but he doesn't need to turn into a stereotype. Next, they are going to give him gold chains and make him his own rep.
Yeah, nobody liked that awful costume. Anyways, these abilities are similar to the Venom abilities that Miles has, because since both Spider-Dudes have gadgets from the previous games, they needed something else to give Peter so he's at a similar power level to Miles, and those were the mechanical spider legs. And besides, it makes sense that Peter will do something with the Dog Ock mechanical arm technology so it doesn't go to waste.
So, Peter steals the technology of Doc Ock, so he's no better than Norman Osborn. Remember, that's the reason that Otto Octavius become cuckoo and evil in first place.
Well, he's stealing the technology and ideas but with good intentions. Besides, he also worked on that technology, and Otto was already going insane and unhinged. He was going to turn bad anyways.
Also, why Miles is Pikachu? I don't remember that spiders can produce electricity, but whatever, it reminds me of the gameplay of the infamous games, and that's cool with K.
They just wanted to make Miles a special little snowflake, that's all. When you get the symbiote, it comes with new abilities for Peter that are very OP. In fact, all these abilities for both Peter and Miles can make the enemy encounters quite easy, especially after you upgrade them to have faster cooldowns. Then there's not a single enemy encounter that's too difficult. You basically break the game with how OP you eventually become. Just keep spamming them as soon as they are available again.
Well, what do you expect? This is not Bloodborne or Neo. Spider-Man is a game to punch bad guys and make them cry like an anime fan during prom night. Speaking of anime fans, Genki is an anime fan. Just look at him. He looks like el ñoño del Chavo del Ocho.
¡Ah, se vale, Miles! ¡No te daré de mi torta de jamón!
Please, this video is supposed to be short, so no time for cringe jokes. Now, back to the abilities. It doesn't help that you can have 4 of these abilities equipped at the same time. That, and the 4 gadget slots, means that you have plenty of stuff to use in battle besides your normal punches. Too many, to be honest.
Sometimes in battles you will expend most of your time shooting gadgets and abilities than throwing any punches, and that's very lame. So basically the Spider-Man
Go, gadget! Wanna play Minecraft with brown bricks? Wowzers, move the glow!
But at least, unlike the first game, your go-go gadgets don't get refiled after you die, because a good old technique to get all your gadgets back up in first game was used to commit suicide before every encounter. We call them the Kenny McCormick technique.
But now, dying doesn't do anything. Your cooldowns will stay the same as they were before. So at least I am glad they fixed that little exploit. Some of these abilities make the gameplay more interesting since they can launch several enemies into the air so you can do some air combos, which allows the gameplay to be more deep and for more player expression in the combat. But some others are just cheap attacks like the Symbiote Punch. It is just a free kill that also damages some of the other enemies nearby that requires no skill to use.
Yeah, and do combos into combos to make the enemies cry like an anime fan.
No, stop that joke. You already said it in the video. Not to mention that those long battle arenas with several enemy waves are gone now. Most enemy sections now feel a lot shorter, and I feel they end just right when things start to get interesting.
Yeah, the combat is cool, but it's not Bayonetta or Devil May Cry good. It's more like a beat 'em up in a 3D space, like the Yakuza games. And sorry, Young, yeah, I think you are a nice person, but a horrible Kazuma Kiryu. And the game is more than just beating the crap out of enemies. It's about exploring New York and be a friendly neighborhood. You also go through rings like in Superman 64. But that's not good. So, when Supes do rings is bad, but when Spidey do it is good. Talking about double standard.
Maybe the reason is that the rings minigames are fun in this game, unlike Superman 64. So when you finally get to fight using your punches, the gameplay is quite fun, and very improved compared to the previous games. There's a lot more options to extend your combos now. So if you are a very skilled player, you can stay far longer fighting on air, doing incredibly long combos without your feet touching the ground a single time, like you were playing a freaking Devil May Cry game.
Sorry, but the game with infinite juggles in the air with enemies is Senran Kagura.
What the heck is Senran Kagura?
It's female Naruto with boobs! Nyek, nyek, nyek.
Oh yeah, now I remember. I almost forgot those perverted games are still being made. Anyways, there's already some incredibly impressive videos of people doing some amazing combos, just like people do with a lot of hack and slash games that demand a lot of skill.
Think you can help?
But what's the point of making the combat deeper if the game is a total cakewalk like the Kirby games?
But don't worry, not everything in this game is a lot easier than the first. While the enemy encounters got a lot easier, the bosses became a lot harder, mostly because they added a new parry mechanic to make the combat deeper. The correct timing is hard to pull off, but it is totally worth it if you know when to use it, because a successful parry will leave the enemy wide open for several attacks.
Yeah, and the parry needs some skill to use wisely, unlike the Batman Arkham games.
At first it looks like you might not need to use it much and just use dodges instead. But the thing is that later the game introduces attacks that can't be dodged and can only be parried, which makes the gameplay far more complicated. Granted, you can still get away without using it much with enemy encounters, since not that many enemies have attacks that can only be parried. But the thing is that later the bosses and sub-bosses use this kind of attacks a lot, and even add attacks that can only be dodged too, just to make it even more complicated. So later bosses and sub-bosses become a constant game of learning what attacks you must parry and which ones you must dodge, predicting your opponent's next attacks based on the animation and color indicators with the spider sense. It's like Sifu all over again!
Always with Sifu. I know that was your first review, but you need to let it go. Like in that cringe Disney song, let it go, let it go, let it go, la 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 la.
This is what makes the bosses much harder in this game. In the previous Insomniac Spider-Man games, the bosses were never that complicated, the enemy encounters were by far the hardest part of those, and it was mostly because they spammed you with an absurd amount of enemies and several enemy waves. So in that sense, the bosses are a huge improvement. The first boss that mixes the attacks that can only be parried with the ones that can only be dodged, which are called crush attacks, it is the lizard. and because of that he's quite complicated to defeat at first. But when you learn what to use in the right moment, you will be able to defeat him without too much trouble. Because of this, he's one of the most fun bosses in the game.
Stop fighting me! This is the only way to get you back! Gotta ground him!
But if there's one thing that I don't like about this game, it is the Mary Jane stealth missions. They are long, boring, and awful. I haven't played the original in a long time, but I don't remember the MJ sections being this bad. I mean, just look at how brain dead is the AI of these guards.
Checking it out.
On my way there.
There she is!
Where are you, Doc?
They are so retarded, they look like they came from The Last of Us.
Not like Last of Us, they are more like the Ward of Hyrule Courtyard of Ocarina of Time. Tana, tana,
I'm on it. Found you. Come now, girl. Give up. On your trail.
Also, speaking of MJ, why she looks much older than before. And with Peter looking younger now, he looks like a slightly older and manlier version of Tom Holland. But he still looks too young. It looks like Peter is in a romantic relationship with his mom. I guess MJ can now be added to the list of ugly women in modern Western games.
You want a first impression? I will give you a first impression. This game sucks. It's a wookie dookie. At Chewbacca, they replace Mary Jane with G-Batman.
Who the hell is G-Batman?
An obscure king of fighter final boss with a giant chin. And now, come on, you little bug from this tiny planet. Blah 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 blah. But seriously, this game is not so bad as the internet is saying. Nyek, nyek, nyek.
Oh yeah, I think I remember him. He was funny.
You mean funny? You know, like Duke funny. Sorry, I almost swallowed a fly. I need water.
But you're a frog. You like eating flies.
Oh yeah, you're right. They taste yummy with cookies. Also, at least Peter is not crushed to death by a golf club in the head, like Pedro Pascual will probably very soon. Nyek, nyek, nyek.
And I I guess since we started talking about that, I think I should mention the claims that this game is woke propaganda garbage. And I think I have a different stance from most people. To me, while the left-wing pandering is clearly there, it doesn't get in the way of the story. This is not a Last of Us Part 2 situation in my opinion.
You know, that's blasphemy! A big blasphemy! You betrayed the Brotherhood! This game is 1 out of 10! Burn the heretic! Burn him! Burn!
Burn! Burn to the ground!
Hey, let me finish and keep down the pitchforks and torches. Don't get me wrong, that woke stuff is clearly noticeable and very distracting, like the fact of how Spidey in the first game interacted with the police a lot because they wanted to show that he wasn't just an insane vigilante. So they made sure to show he was in a good relationship with the cops. But since then, the woke weirdos have gone full deranged about cops being showcased in any way that's just slightly positive. They even dared to call the first game Cop-aganda. You get it? Cop-aganda, as in propaganda for cops.
And because of that now all the cops are nowhere to be seen. They are dead. Poof! Kaput! They barely appear at all, which is weird. Consider all the crazy stuff that happens in this game. They definitely should get more involved. They never come to help you in the middle of battle like in the first game.
Also, every time that there's a civilian being showcased in a positive light, it is a minority. And if it is a negative light, then it is most likely going to be a white guy.
But the worst character is Danica Hart. I can't stand her.
Who? The annoying purple hair lady that looks like a Tumblr artist?
Yes, she's a text definition of a Mary Sue. She's patronizing, entitled, and think that she's morally superior to others. Like SpongeBob's. I don't know why, but she bugs me off. I would prefer even a Screwball podcast than her. Nick! Nick, Nick, Nick! How is she even popular in the Spidey universe? It does not make sense. Even if she's really a good person, it's still more boring than a clam aquarium. And they are just marine rocks. Marine rocks. They don't move. She's like a nicer version of Anita Sarkeesian, but still a slug. Yes, a big slug.
Okay, friends, my feeds are blowing up about the commotion out in Jersey. A fire at the old zoo? A secret hunter base? And Spider-Man trying on his friend's black suit? Things are getting weird out there, folks. I mean, I know there's a lot of excitement about SM's black is the new black look, and I mean, it is fire and all, but isn't it just a tad moody for our friendly neighborhood so-and-so? No takers? Just me? Okay, well, you know, you come to me for the real, so I'm just trying to deliver. Stay safe out there, y'all. Friends of the Danicast, I woke up today with one question on my mind. What the hell happened at the Emily May Foundation last night? 1 minute we're talking philanthropy and using the means of production for good, and the next we're looking at a war zone. And yeah, listen, clearly those hunters were involved. Clearly they're the baddies here. But y'all saw the same footage of Spider-Man I did, yeah? The way that new black suit moves, how vicious it is. Call me a worrywart if you want, but something ain't right. Times like these, take care of the little things. 64 ounces of water, every day. See you soon, folks.
Yeah, Danica Hart is a very forgettable character, and she doesn't contribute much to the story at all.
Yeah, I prefer prefer even Carnage with boobs, with boobas, and yes, that's a boss, not a cringe joke.
Now back to Mary Jane. Not only you have to do the annoying MJ missions, that let's be honest, the only reason that they exist is so they didn't get labeled as sexist for sidelining her. But they also added a bizarre mission where you play as Miles' deaf girlfriend and you can't hear anything, so you can get immersed in the experience.
But near the end of the game there is a Mary Jane mission that there is no shitty stealth at all, where the game turns into a third-person shooter. And I know it's basically a Diet Coca-Cola launcher, but it's still far better than any of her other missions. Nyek nyek nyek.
Honestly, if there were more missions with her like this, I would probably have liked her sections a lot more.
I guess they left more than just flares behind. Not good, not good.
Anyways, besides that, the game uses the typical side mission system from most open world games that fill the entire map. Some of them are very fun to do, and some of them feel like just boring, busy work to do, like in a Ubisoft game.
Spider Creed Brotherhood Valhalla!
Which is annoying because in the first game I remember that there was only a few missions that felt like a chore to do. I even liked the infamous puzzles since to me at least they were very satisfying to complete.
That's the core problem with open world games. They always want you to play where is Waldo in the map with billions of dots that are chores to do. Like the spider bots, gotta catch 'em all!
Here getting bored of clearing the map happens far more often than in the first game, mostly because there's far more pointless minigames that are meant to give variety to the gameplay. Like one where you have to train a drone to scare wasps to save the bees.
Welcome to Spider-Man Party 64! Hello, mamma mia! Hey, paisanos! Yeah, very lame gameplay comparing to saving people from supervillains like a Scorpion or Sandman as a Spider-Man. Instead, you're just sitting there wearing a VR headset, shooting wasp holograms. Like a total loser! That's so much fun!
Anyways, let's start wrapping this up. Let's do the conclusion.
So, the game is better and worse than the first game at the same time, but for different reasons. In some aspects, improves the first game, but in others, it's just plain worse. And that make my head dizzy. And why Mary Jane is much hotter and Courier and Buster as a symbiote. That does not make sense, but I like it. Me gusta.
Maybe that's one of the developers' fetishes. Also, yeah, I agree. This game is worse in some aspects, but also a lot better in others. Pros: the combat is deeper, more complex, the web swinging is still just as fun as before, and even though the story is worse, it is still very entertaining. There's also more enemy variety and even better bosses than in the first game.
The villain, Kraven, is a total badass in this game, and Classic Venom is a great villain too. He reminds me when he was considered the Spider-Man nemesis in his first few apparitions.
Cons: bigger doesn't always means better. This game has the Ubisoft problem. Much padding just to extend the game, like some secondary objectives like the boring Prowler missions, the unnecessary MJ sections, the excessive minigames, and the game is less challenging and still has some glitches that can be annoying at times.
Cons: Purple Anita Sarkeesian wannabe and her horrible podcast. You should have the option to turn it off. She certainly turned me off.
But overall, I think the first one was better. But this game is still really damn good. I can't wait to play it again someday, maybe in a higher difficulty, or maybe wait for the DLC. But I am not going to give it a rating yet. That's reserved for the full review. Phew! That was fun to do. But now I am tired. Hey, you wanna go play some Mario Kart?
Yeah, but don't forget to bring the Doritos with extra cheese and Takis. Also, I will defeat you using the almighty Blue Shell and Toad.
La, oh boy! I will kick Mario ass!
Okay then. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Have a Merry Xmas and a Happy New Year. See you later, guys.